Well, hello there. You see me over in the corner. And I am doing a new series, and it's basically called Still Lit Book Titles. I was researching about just different series that I could do on my YouTube in order to just to get people familiar with me because I have been around. I am an oldie, and I just want to, get fans back into the swing of things, but also let new fans know what I'm all about, or fans, readers, however you like to call them. I love to call them sneak readers, and a lot of times I will refer to them. If you want to know what a sneak reader is, this is a person that literally should not be reading at the time they're reading, and they have to sneak and do it. I got the title because a lot of in early like 2009, I used to live blog, and I still live blog, but that's when I started. And I would release about 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock in the morning, and people were at work, and they would have to run to the bathroom and be somewhere where they couldn't have their phone out, but they wanted to read the chapter. And so that's why I call them sneak readers, and that's what I call my fans, sneak readers, diehard, truly fans that are sneak readers. But we today are not talking about sneak readers. We are talking about book titles. So if you don't know who I am, I'm Sylvia Hubbard, a dark romance suspense author, and I have almost 70 titles. I'm not going through all 70 titles, so that's why this is a part one, because we are basically doing five at a time, because that's enough to talk about. Five at a time. Hopefully, before this series ends, I'll have come out with the rest of my books for this year, and we can keep it going. But yeah, just divide 70 times five, and that's how many parts we are going to be doing in this series. Some books are short, so maybe I could put like some books together and hurry it up. But for right now, we're doing five books at a time and going from there. If you have any questions, um, let me know. Put it in the comments. And even though this isn't live, I will come back and answer all questions. We are going in the order of published, I believe, as orderly as possible. Now, some titles have been republished, so it broke that order because it was either better editing, better cover, or like that, or so forth. But for right now, we are going with better the order that this was published. You know what? Why is my husband getting off of work early? Yuck. We might have to stop this one. Ew. Okay, hold on. So we are back, and so this is part one, like I said. And basically, like I said, this is the book title series, The Whys, the Kinks, and Tropes, so readers can see the meaning behind the madness of the writer, Sylvia Hubbard. So let's go to the next one. Who am I? Like I said, if you don't know who I am, I'm a dark romance and psychological suspense author of almost 70 books. We're probably going to get into the psyche of why I don't like calling myself a psychological romance until I really deep dive researched into it. But I guess, yes, you can call me a psychological suspense because I do hit a lot of things. I don't like to really say I'm a thriller author. Because it leans more towards horror and a lot of other stuff. But I would stick with suspense. So psychological suspense author. And like I said, it's almost 70 books by the end of this year. I've been publishing since 2000. My writer's story goes way back before then. And yeah, it's always more to come. And I'm usually kind of like an out of the box author where I do a lot of stuff. So overall themes and tropes. Overall themes and tropes, I deal with morally gray heroes, forbidden love, family conflict, loyalty, slow burn, emotional tension, a lot of emotional tension, possessiveness, protector hero type characters, marriage of convenience, fake relationships, polyandry with no sword Crossing, Family Secrets and Suspense. Second Chance Romances, I've done that, and trope stacking. I do a lot of trope stacking, which I find that a lot of people like, and we'll get into a little of that. I might make even a side video about all of it because I probably should discuss that as well. Age gap romances I've done even recently, and genre bending romance suspense hybrid. And I probably will make just an overall themes and tropes of what I do because I kind of want people to get familiar with who I am and what I wrote about. And since it's so many books and so much to talk about, yeah, you should get to know me in order to get to know all the books and understand what they are. Matter of fact, I probably should be doing that, because this is an unfinished slide. I forgot to put the other two books in there. But I was like, I'm ready to go, and I didn't come back to this slide, but we'll get to it. So these are the three of the five books we will be talking about. So it'll be Dreams of Reality, Stone's Revenge, Stealing Innocence, Road to Freedom, and Teach Me to Love. And remember, I am going in order of published, according to what my memory is. If I'm off, then let me know. So let's get into it. Let's start it off. So the first book I ever published, and this was back in 2000, was Dreams of Reality. Why did I name it Dreams of Reality? It was, I was on a crunch and I needed a title, and I couldn't think of anything else. So it became Dreams of Reality. I was going through the motions of I had finished the book, done a little self-edit. It was a badly published book at that time, and I'm going to admit that, but I kind of was like going throughout the whole day. What do I call it? What do I call it? Because I was actually submitting it to a vanity publisher. And I wanted to get it done by the end of the day. So that's what popped out, by the end of the day, was Dreams of Reality. The book is about where Sky tries to find out why she's a part of this mind controlling experiment implemented by her doctor. She finds out the drug is slowly, for other women who are taking it, deteriorating their brain functions, and you stay on it too long and it just totally destroys your life. And she finds out that the man she's been dreaming about is actually, in reality, she is going to see this man, and that's what the drug is doing. Uh, More of a sci-fi, out of the box kind of thing, but based in reality of how experiments in urban development has been taking place for a long period of time, and addressing facts about how doctors do not listen to women when they say there's something wrong with me. They usually push it off as a side effect, and that's what she was going through. So this is a medical romance suspense intrigue. I would have never dreamed about my first book being a medical intrigue, but this was kind of like, I wrote this book based on like from my first pregnancy, when no one would listen. Like I was saying, all this stuff was happening to me, and they would say, oh, it's side effects. This is a dubious con, wealthy, morally gray hero, illegal experiments, and a lot of triggers will be triggered when you read this book. I started out the gate just, oh, okay, let's just bend reality, and go from there. Someone actually approached me about turning this into like more of a sci-fi kind of thing, and I turned that down as well, because I think that all my books are contemporary and they stay in contemporary, and we go from there. So this was Sky and Thaddeus Newman's story, and we'll get into the companionship stories. That's a whole nother thing, because each story, if you don't know, in my books, and that's why I call it the literary world of Sylvia Hubbard, their companionship novels. So Sky and Thaddeus actually appear in other books. I know the next book that they appeared in was Deceptive Nights, and Thaddeus appears in She Works Hard for the Money. Sky does appear, I believe, in Hope is Love. So there's other books that they appear in, and that's a whole nother video that we would have to go into, in the companion. So that is why it's called the literary world of Sylvia Hubbard, because all these books somehow intertwine with each other, but these are all standalone stories. So let's go to the next one. So Stone's Revenge. This was actually my baby, and I should have came out with this first because this was actually the first romance book that I've ever really put together. I started this book, I think, when I was 18 years old, and then I didn't even publish it till almost 12 to 15 years later. Yeah, about 15 years later after I published it, and it was about the son of a serial killer getting revenge getting revenge will be sweet for him. His father was prosecuted by Ramsey McPherson, and William just wants to go after him for what he did, and for because Ramsey still feels the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, and now there are copycat murders like his father happening in the city, and he's harassing William, and William decides to get revenge by going after Ramsey's only daughter, who is Abigail, and she's wheelchair bound. How did I get the title? The title, of course, is William's last name, Stone's Revenge. And it was a simple title. I didn't want to try to go too hard. Stones could be hard, whatever, metaphorically, right. And this was actually a really crazy, like I said, I started out the box. I didn't like ease into dark romance eased into me and just said, boom, we're gonna just do it. So there's another psychological suspense romance, and it's more of a psychological suspense than it is a romance, but there is dubious consent in here, a lot of dubious consent in the beginning. There's a lot of family trauma due to William trying not to be the man of the father that raised him, and family deceit with Abigail not telling her father that she is in a relationship with a possible serial killer. And of course, our female is wheelchair bound. A lot of people don't know that when they talk about my books. A lot of people don't mention that, and I can see in the reviews they don't say it a lot. But yeah, she is wheelchair bound, and but I work around that and become this great story. I really fell in love. This was the first like character I really fell in love with. William was my first like love in terms of like getting it out on the page and showing who he was, and just expressing that you don't come from your past and you can rise above it. And yes, they do appear. Abigail does appear in several other books. She turns out to be an architect, and she appears in other books. And actually, William and Red Heart, if you know that book series, they do make an appearance together in other books because William is a car guy and Red, is a mechanic, and they built a business in Detroit. So the next book is Stealing Innocence. Now, yes, I stayed on the dark side after this. I knew that this was the genre that I was going to be in, the dark romance girly for like forever, because after I wrote Stone's Revenge, I kind of wanted something, I guess what I would say, lighter in terms of, okay, no one's dying, but let's still stay in this kind of world of dark romance. So this one has Kimberly and Jalen, and Jalen cannot have children out of wedlock, or he loses his business. And Kimberly wants to get custody of her brother through her uncle. And she goes with her uncle quick rich scheme where she works in an old folks home and decides to marry a patient there for his money. But he ends up dying on their wedding night, and to make sure they secure the wealth of this guy, um, the uncle goes out and finds someone who looks just like the husband and ends up kidnapping Jalen, tying him to a bed, and having Kimberly um, take him until she gets pregnant, or is assured that she could get pregnant, and then they were going to kill him. He didn't die. Kimberly actually releases him, saves him, but he spends years trying to get revenge against her. So this is all about, yeah, him getting revenge because Jalen is a very horrible person and he just wants everybody to be prosecuted for the crime. So that's why I call it the reverse dub con, because it's rarely talked about or rarely done. and this is truly it. This is the reverse dub count, 20 pages of reverse dub counting. Trust me. And his family trauma, with Kimberly going through what she had to go through with her uncle, family deceit, and embezzlement charges. And you'll get into all of that in Stealing Innocence. And this is great because this is when I brought King Hart to life. You actually meet King and Onyx in this book. And if you know anything about the Hart family and the war that's coming, then you know this is the book that if you want to be introduced to them and who they are, what they are about, then this is where you can find them at. And that's why this is another companionship novel, because Jalen does appear in, I think, 3 to 4 other books in the series, and he's a character. He speaks his mind and he doesn't care. And people wonder, how does Kimberly love him? But this is how you can understand, how does Kimberly love him. And that is that. The next one would be Road to Freedom. This would be my fourth book. Fourth book. And I actually missed a book in this, and I'll just add that to the other book. But I actually missed a book. But this was so it's a fifth. This is actually a fifth book, Road to Freedom. How I came up with the title. Oh, I don't think I talked about that for Stealing Innocence. How I came up, just because that's what she did. That's what she did, and then he in turn did it to her. So that's why I call it. And there are several books in this series where it's the same setup, where she does him. Um, yeah, they take, so you kind of know. So each book though is a standalone, um but it has kind of like the same premise of the story of what happens. Da-da. Okay, so in Road to Freedom, I didn't know what to call this one. Actually, for the title, I had no idea what to call this one. I just knew I wanted to get Whitney in a position where, and the book actually opens up with her trying to escape from her stepfather's powerful clutch because he wants her money. And he's going to force her to marry some old guy just to keep everything in the family, control of the company and everything like that. She meets up with a stranger who has his own vendetta against her father, and this becomes a whirlwind of, you know, turning on your family, who to trust, betrayal, and deceit along with it, because she has a sister, a stepsister, or a half sister, and they have never been seen eye to eye. But is you have to answer the question: is blood thicker than water? And you go from there. So this was a really cool book. That title was just thrown on there, and I've just never changed it. I think if someone ever picks this up, we'll probably change the name of that. I'm open to changing the name, but at that point in my life, I was like, you know what? I just want to come out with a book, and this book just gripped me. I wrote it and released it. Like this slide says, it's dark enemies to lover, romance, family, suspense, and drama. It is reverse dub con. No, it's not reverse dub con. I'm sorry, that's not correct. But it is family drama, kidnapping, sisterly love. The FMC is in distress, a lot of distress, and betrayal, redemption. It explores the dark side of greed and the consequences of choices. It really brings home to what happens when you choose the wrong path to go down and betray people who love and care about you, and seeing the real love and care that people have, especially between sisters, and how powerful that is. So yeah, that is it. And I just love this cover. This is actually the third iteration, and I'm just leaving it at that. This book is actually available for free where books are sold. And this is Teach Me to Love, final book in this thing, because I'm trying to get it under 30 minutes. But Teach Me to Love came naturally. I think I came up with the title from the first time I started writing it. So, and it's basically what it is. It is an age gap married teacher student romance. It ends up with this is being an exclusive on my website because I knew I would get a lot of flack if I put this up on Amazon. And I really didn't want the flack. So I make this book exclusive on my website because it is a teacher student relationship book. And yes, they get into it. And I know, like I said, I stay on the dark side, and open door, really dubious uh morals going on. But it is, and it is a body debt payment system. And I want to get back into this one because it does have to do with King Heart's beginning story. And if you know the Heart legacy, you know what's going to happen. But yes, this was a slight action adventure romance ski or whatever romancy type thing, but it had to do with a really dark side of relationships, love relationships, and I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed this one. And yeah, those are my 5 books for right now. And like I said, it's going to be more to come. I hope you join me. And if you haven't read these books, I would love for you to pick them up. If you have read these books, make sure you have dropped a review on these books wherever you bought the book. Um, a lot of you have been with me for a long time and you didn't get the books. So if you can prove that you bought the books, I will gladly send the books back to you refurbished, because we've gone through so many e-commerce reiterations since 2000. I would love to help old readers pick up the books, but if you can show you have bought this book, I will gladly put it in your Gumroad library, because that's the e-commerce that I'm using now. So let me know, contact me. But if you are a new reader, I would love for you to check out any one of these books and enjoy. And like I said, there's more to come. Subscribe. Part 2 is coming soon. Thanks for joining me. Bye.